Well, thank you. You know, every one of us in this building owes a huge debt of gratitude to our Capitol Police. Considering all the sacrifice they make to keep us safe, we all should be able to say with one voice that if you violently assault a Capitol Police officer, you should not get a pardon, and you should not get off scot-free. I'm going to have a lot more to say on the floor later today, but from Trump pardoning violent insurrectionists to issuing blatantly unconstitutional executive orders to lawlessly blocking bipartisan funding. We've got a lot of ground to cover. And today I want to talk about the OMB guidance the Trump administration issued in the dead of night. In a brazen and illegal move, the Trump administration is working to freeze huge chunks of federal funding passed into law by Republicans and Democrats alike. Now, not even 24 hours later, they are issuing new guidance, trying to clean up the massive mess they've made, saying, wait, we don't actually know what we're doing. But they are still leaving needless uncertainty about what actually is happening, and they are still, let me make that clear, still withholding approved funding all across the government. Meanwhile, the chaos is already hurting people, creating confusion and causing devastating delays. Where do we start here? There are a lot of urgent questions, but precious few answers, and the answers keep changing. What about grants for public safety, grants for our firefighters, or that prevent violence against women? Those aren't direct to individuals. Are they still halted? Healthcare. What about the community health centers that millions rely on, including in our rural areas? Money fighting the opioid crisis. Grants that go to states, communities, and nonprofits. Are they stopping funding for addiction treatment and prevention? Clinical studies. Scientists at the University of Washington and Washington State University are deeply alarmed. This is not theoretical. Research projects will collapse. Staff will be furloughed or laid off. Tribes in my state are deeply alarmed that they will see severe cuts across health care, education, law enforcement, housing, practically every aspect of daily life on Indian land. And of course, what about disaster relief that could be derailed? In eastern Washington, in my home state, $44 million to help Spokane County rebuild after wildfires. Money that was announced weeks ago, still on pause. Last week, Trump visited communities in North Carolina and California, reeling from disaster. Now he's throwing the aid those communities need into chaos. Schools that need Title I payments are worried they may not get the funds that Congress has allocated and voted on. Suddenly, we now don't know how will Meals on Wheels feed seniors who depend on them. What does this mean for our homeless veterans we are working to get housed? Entire budgets and payrolls across the country are carefully hinging on these resources. We're talking about small towns, cities, rural America, school districts, universities, and much more. And look, saying, oh, just kidding, not even 24 hours later, is not a solution. You can't pretend you had no idea that this would cause chaos despite all the warnings. That is not believable. And even if it was true, not a good reason for all the damage that's been caused. Even despite what we've heard from the administration in the last hour, they are still promising to illegally withhold funding owed to all of our states. That basic truth has not changed. So I am urging my fellow Republicans to open your eyes to just how bad this is and will be for your states and your communities, and speak out. I know reports say the White House is trying to silence members who've done that. Stand up. We're talking about your constituents. And specifically, I urge my Republican colleagues on the Senate Budget Committee to vote against Russ Vought's nomination. Republicans should not advance this nomination out of committee until the Trump administration follows the law. And I'm warning the Trump administration, the law is the law. You need to reverse course, follow the requirements of the law, ensure the nation's spending laws are implemented, as Congress intended and avoid this pointless, damaging chaos.
I want people, before we start,